In this video we learn how to use some more advanced filtering techniques with the methods between isin and the tilde operator. So first of all, let's import pandas, and we are working with our Olympic Games medals dataset. And now let's assume that we want to have all medals from the Summer Games in 1988 in Seoul. And we can filter our data frame by checking in the year column if the value for each row in the year column is 1988. And by doing so here we're creating a Boolean series, and by passing the Boolean series here to the log operator we are creating a brand new data frame with only rows that fulfill the condition here. So let's try it out and store the new data frame in the variable Olympic Games 1988. And let's check head and tail. So you can see here that we only have medals that were awarded in the year 1988 in Seoul. Let's check also the info method. So we have in total 1,546 medals. And now what if you want to have not only the medals for 1 year, but for example all medals since 1992. So from the edition in 1992 in Barcelona, including until today. And what we could actually do, we could create a Boolean series for each edition. So let's say we create a Boolean series for 1992, then a Boolean series for 1996 with the equal sign and so on. And then we could combine all Boolean series with an OR operator. Or what we could do, we could simply use the greater equal sign. And there we are filtering all rows where the year is 1992 or later. So we do not have to use here many conditions and combine them with an OR operator. We can just use here the greater or equal sign. And let's do this and save the new data frame in the variable Olympic Games since 1992. And let's have a look at the first and last rows. So here we can see we have a data frame starting from 1992 until 2012. So the data set ends here in 2012, and the 2016 edition is not in our data frame. Alright, so now let's assume that we want to have all medals that were awarded in the 1960s. So we want to include all games in the 1960s. And we can do this with the between method. So we can first of all select the year column and then use the between method and check if the values in the year series are between 1960 and 1969. So let's check this here. So we get here a Boolean series, and obviously here for the very first rows we get a false because the data frame is starting with 1896. And now again we can pass here our Boolean series to our complete data frame with the log operator. And with the between method there is one additional parameter here. So with the between method we have to define the left boundary, it's 1960, and the right boundary, it's 1969. And we have to define if the boundaries are inclusive or exclusive. So since we want to have all editions in the 60s, we pass here true. And here we're creating a brand new data frame, and we are storing the data frame in the variable Olympic Games 60s. So let's run here the cell. And let's have a look at the first rows and the last rows. And you can see here we are starting with the rows where the year is 1960, so we have here the edition in Rome, and we are ending with 1968 in Mexico. So, and this is actually the good thing with the between method, that this works even if I'm not sure in which years some Olympic Games took place. So I do not have to pass a specific year where I know that there was Olympic Summer Games, so for example 1964. I simply pass an interval, so between 1960 and 1969, and I get here the medals for the editions 1960, 1964 and 1968. Alright, so far we selected editions that were in a sequential order. So for example here we selected all games from 1992 until today, or here we selected all games between 1960 and 1968. But what if we want to select the Olympic Games that are not sequentially ordered? So let's assume that our favorite games were the editions in 1972 and 1996. So they are obviously not sequential because there are games between those two, for example in 1976 or 1992. And let's create here a list with my favorite games, so 1972 and 1996. And now if we want to filter the data frame, we could use two conditions. So we filter for 1972 and for 1996. And we combine those two conditions with an OR operator, or we could use the isin method. So we select first of all the year column, and then we use the isin method, and then we pass our list my favorite games with the two values 1972 and 1996. And then Pandas checks for each value in the year column if the value is either 1972 or 1996. So let's run here the cell, and I would expect to get a Boolean series. Correct. And now we can pass here our Boolean series to our summer data frame and the log operator, and then we create a brand new data frame with medals that were awarded in 1972 or 1996. And we call the data frame Olympic Games 72-96. So let's run here. And let's have a look at the first 5 rows and the last 5 rows. So we are starting here with 1972 and ending with 1996. And now let's assume that we deeply analyzed here our data frame, and now we want to analyze all other years that are not 1972 or 1996, and we can do this by passing simply here again our Pandas series with all rows with 1972 or 1996, and then we can use the tilde symbol, which gives us the opposite. And then we can pass here the whole statement to our summer data frame and the log operator, and we should get a brand new data frame with all medals in all years except the editions 1972 and 1996. And we store the new data frame in the variable Olympic Summer Games, not 72 and 1996. So let's check this out here. Let's have a look. So starting from 1896. And we can check with the unique method which unique values we actually have in our year column. So let's check this. And we can see that we have all years except the years 1972 and 1996. So our code worked here. Alright, so now we are finished with this session, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!